Hi, Farah.
Here a second. Hey, Victor. And that's 6, so that's quorum. So we'll wiggle right along. So just double checking for members of the public. If you during this meeting, if you have a general or a quick question, you can pop that in the Q&A, but please do not use the chat, and that goes for panelists too. You can use the chat if you need to send a one-on-one message to folks, but if you have something you want to share with the group, please do so out loud so we can get that on the recording for later. I think Amy will be watching our Q&A tonight, but members of the community, if it's a bigger question, we may refer you to our public comment section at the end of this evening, in which case we can address it then. Boom. And so we'll go ahead and kick off this meeting with a reading of our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Arapaho, Ute, and Cheyenne tribes, the traditional custodians of the land on which the Police Oversight Panel and Boulder Police Department operate, and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. Thank you all for being here this evening. Happy July. Or happy July. Oh my gosh. It's already August. Happy August, everyone. That school year is right around the corner. Hope everyone's doing good. For members of the public, just a reminder, our web address, if you have a complaint you'd like to submit against an officer of the Boulder Police Department, you can do so at our website, bouldercolorado.gov/services/police-oversight. You can also contact the Police Oversight Panel for any general queries or media requests through policeoversight-panel@bouldercolorado.gov. That email address goes straight to Adasa and I, the co-chairs of the panel, and we share anything we get with the panel at large. I will read through our agenda now for this evening. So we'll start off with an approval of our July meeting minutes. Then we'll get a status report on the hiring of a new independent monitor. Spoilers, we hired someone. Consultant update. The police will also get a consultant update from Farah on the ordinance working group. We will check in to see if there's any updates from our panel committees. We'll get an update on conferences as we had our conference this week in Boulder, which Victor, if you might have, I might hand it to you just to give say a little bit, since I know you were there. And then we also want to touch base on the NACOL conference coming up shortly too, and give you an update there. Then we'll get our update from the interim independent police monitor. And then we'll finally open it up for public comment at the end of this meeting. Sorry, just double checking my notes, making sure I did everything. So with that, approval of the July minutes. Does anyone have any questions or edits to the July minutes? In that case, I'll move to approve the minutes. If someone can second that.
A second.
Thanks, Adasa. And show of hands, everyone, to approve the July minutes. Or that's a majority. Thank you. The minutes are approved. And with that, I'll hand it over to Amy for an update on the hiring of a new independent monitor.
Thank you, Daniel. So Amy Kane, Equity Officer for the city. And I hope you all got the email earlier today from Nuria that we have successfully run the process for the new independent monitor, and our new independent monitor, Sherry Down, is it Down or Down? Will be starting on the 22nd of August. So right around the corner, just a couple weeks away. So we're talking through what that transition looks like with our colleagues from the OIR group. And of course, Farah is still going to be leading us through all of the ordinance work. So we're just really excited to have that happen. And thanks for those of you who participated and showed up for community sessions, as well as participated on the interview panel. So we're super psyched.
Thanks, Amy. And yeah, so in full disclosure, this happens. So when the co-chairs have any private meetings, we always want to disclose what happened with those as soon as we can to y'all. So Dawson and I did serve on the community panel along with Teresa and former panelist Taisha Adams to interview all the candidates. So that happened. And then also we met with Nuria last week. She informed us, or last week, this week, Monday, thank you, NASA. Wow, I'm really off on time today. I apologize, everyone. Fell through a wormhole. So we met with Nuria Monday evening, and at that point too, we discussed with her potentially setting up a kind of a transition team. Likely I would be on it, but then also looking at OIR group, someone from the police department, just to coordinate that transition with our new monitor and hopefully have a nice smooth transition. And really looking at October, we just discussed October, so that's when hopefully the ordinance updates will be yeah, I see you, Farah, will be completed. And also that's then when our temporary moratorium will also be lifted once those ordinance updates are confirmed. So we're really looking at October as being that opportunity to really hit the ground running again with, you know, panel version 2.0 and make sure that Sherry has everything she needs to get rolling as well in the position. With that, any questions for Dasa and I, for Amy, questions or concerns from anyone?
Are they going to have the same office as Joey back there in the corner?
Yes. Yep. That way let's still have access for community that's private entrance.
Cool beans, folks. Moving right along, I'll hand it over to Farah for our update on the ordinance updates.
Thank you, Danielle. Farah Muscadin, consultant. Let me first by saying that I love panel 2.0. I think that's a great way to put that. We have, I will first start off saying that the members on the work group have been amazing. And literally we have full attendance for every meeting we meet Tuesday evenings for 2 hours. And I try my hardest to keep us on our time schedule. But people come there, they come prepared, they come with their candor and their perspectives. We disagree, and then we somehow find a way, and then, or we pause it and we come back to it in the following week. So it's been very, very productive. And the work group feels very strongly that we need to wrap it up this month. So we are pushing through. We have a pretty good working draft. Our last meeting on Tuesday, we went through kind of like the first half of our working draft. Next meeting, we're going to go through the second half of our working draft, and then we're taking the last 2 meetings to fine tune things. But I really like the 2.0 kind of framing of that, because we're clarifying some things, we're making things more direct in the ordinance, giving more structure. As much as I appreciate the effort that was made in drafting of the current ordinance, it is difficult to read and follow. So we're, organizing it differently and kind of putting it in sections that make sense. But it is a 2.0. And so we're looking forward to sharing that. The work group wants to be a little bit more comfortable because there are some things, for example, kind of what proposing what we think the expectations of the chief of police should be, outside counsel, the evaluation system, potentially evaluation system for the oversight process in Boulder, and also kind of the relationship between the panel and the independent monitor, what that should be like. So those are some topics we still have yet to talk about that are very substantive. So we just need to get there, and we're going to get there. We're definitely going to get there next week, and then spend the last few weeks of August really fine tuning everything. But I just really want to relay to everyone on the panel and the public that the feedback and the participation of the community members and the panel members and the staff on the work group has been phenomenal. And I really as a facilitator, they've really made it a great experience for me because I've done this several times before, and it hasn't been as pleasant. And so this has been a really great experience. I don't want to steal Victor's thunder, but I do want to just bring up a little bit about, we have already said in our prior community event that we would absolutely have a follow-up community event to get feedback on that. So we're looking at, mid-September to do that. And so I'm going to be working through how it makes sense to get feedback from the community. And I want to tie this to my presentation that I gave to council a couple of weeks ago, in that what I'm proposing to present to them in October is kind of like 4 sections of the work group recommendation, my recommendation, a summary of, community feedback. And I'm going to include the meetings that I had when I first came on board, the feedback that we received from our June event, and then obviously the feedback that we received from the September event. And then the last section would be kind of areas where there just wasn't agreement. And so that's really how I envision the documentation will go to council. And so I'm setting that out there because I want to set a clear expectation for community that we're looking forward to receiving their feedback, and their feedback will be presented directly to City Council for review. And so that is really my goal to do that. And yeah, again, I do, want to also, have Hadassah as co-chair and as a member of the work group. Obviously, I think, if you're open to saying a few words too about kind of the experience and where our progress has been and going.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, kind of like you said, like, I think it's just been really exciting to see that everyone shows up and is ready to have these discussions that even though, maybe we come to it from different viewpoints. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? We want to have people from all different perspectives in this working group, and that was why we were all chosen. And so, but in the end, we're able to like, okay, well, I can't have, I think we compromise well and are able to come to terms with things that all parties are fairly happy with. So that makes me hopeful that the approval process will go pretty quickly, and that, considering that everyone was considered, I'm trying to think of a better word, but that's where my first impressions and where I'm feeling.
So I think the next panel meeting is right after the Labor Day holiday, I believe. So obviously prior to that, there'll be a written update to the panel where we're at, because we're really going to wrap up by the end of the month. So probably, our last meeting, I think, is August 28th, 29th, somewhere around there. So probably sometime that week or the first week of the, probably that week, I will send something to the panel, because I don't want to wait until the next meeting. I want you to, as soon as we wrap up and everybody feels from the work group feels comfortable, I can send something out to the panel for them to review and give me feedback on.
And Farah, sorry if you already mentioned it, when is the next community engagement event?
So we have some tentative dates that I'm hesitant to, so we're mid-September. So I did bring this up in the work group meeting because I was asked to look at the link that you sent us, and also the link to look into football games. And so there are football games on 2 Saturdays, September 16th and the 23rd, which make it a challenge. And there's some that think it's an issue and some that don't think it's an issue, because particularly with the population that we may want to get feedback from, that may not be a factor for them. So really the goal that we're thinking through is having 2 events, one in person, one virtually, really with the point of trying to get more feedback and be more accessible as much as we can be. But I would say mid-September.
And I was just thinking too, should we begin considering planning on a new legal training for the panel once the ordinance has been approved? So the opportunity to sit down either with you and or city attorneys and walk through the ordinance to make sure that we really are, everyone has a really firm understanding of the changes, the new legal footing.
Sorry, I muted myself. 100%. I think it's going to be really important for this particular panel, but like also one of the things I'm going to be working on with Sherry when she comes on is formalizing the training for the panel and also the onboarding process to just really make it like just a systematic thing that something comes out, this is what happens. And so that will make it much easier and have it be more consistent. But 100%, like it may be a painful experience going through the different sections because it is a 2.0, but I think it's going to be needed because it is, if it moves forward as we've been discussing in our work group, it is different.
Yeah.
And I think it would be important for the, like you can read it and you're also going to understand it when you read it, but we've got to talk it through. And I think that's going to be important that we talk it through.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think then the next step then is Hadass and I, the holdouts on the governance committee, then we need to apply it. We need to revisit the bylaws too. And so that's going to be, step 2. And so I think that training of really walking through it would be really helpful. Yeah, Sterling, I see the hand.
So I'm sorry, obviously I'm not privy to everything that was discussed in the working group meetings about the follow-up community event, but just something that Farrah said, it seems kind of wrong that in regards to not being concerned about the football game dates because you're not really looking for that input from or it won't affect the people that you're looking to input from. It just seems wrong for that to be an issue. Like if it's an issue for one group, then it should be an issue for everything.
Well, I think what I probably should have been more clear what I mean by that. I think that we want to be able to get feedback from groups that are marginalized, right? And we are intentionally putting forward the recommendation to do 2 events so that more people can be able to provide feedback. So we had one event at 5 p.m. at the library, and we did our best to try to get as many people as we can. It was out there, but and so this time we're really trying to think of how do we get more people to come out to give their feedback. And so part of the consideration for the football game was traffic is horrible, or who might be attending, and access to public transportation on that day. So obviously I don't live in Boulder, so I don't know. So I rely on those who live in Boulder to tell me, having it on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning on a football weekend, does that make sense? Or does it take away from the groups that we're looking to get feedback on? We're still going to have Be Heard Boulder and that ability to give people feedback. But the point is really to ensure that we get the most amount of people as possible. We also talked about having it on a Sunday, but I think having on a Sunday also limits a specific population. So this is where like community engagement is challenging. You make your best effort to try to get the most amount of people, but to a certain extent, that's a little bit impossible, but the effort still needs to be made so that you have an opportunity to get as much feedback as you can.
I'll mention as a CU person, September 16th is the Rocky Mountain Showdown. So I would expect Boulder to be very hard to get around for most of that day. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and that's feedback I need because I don't even know what that is.
It's the football game between CS. I've literally never been to a CU football game, so I'm just going to own that myself. But it's the game between CSU and CU. But football games in Boulder generally really shut down central Boulder, but especially I'd expect the showdown to be particularly challenging for transit and for anyone trying to park in Boulder that day. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the feedback that I received as well.
I would
Yeah.
also just add that marginalized communities like football as well, so. Even if we do it on a football game day, it still might affect them in terms of them wanting to actually enjoy a Saturday afternoon as opposed to going to that event.
Any other comments, questions for the ordinance working group process questions? Cool beans. Thanks, Farah. Next up, so we're going to run through our committee updates. We can start with governance. Adas, I don't think we have any updates for the group, right? Yep, cool. So no updates from governance. Victor, any updates from community engagement?
Thanks. I would say that Milan attended more events at the International Police Conference, but I attended their presentation on homelessness. It was a fascinating presentation. It was also interesting to see that, you know, in the police community, that Boulder is somewhat of a leader. And so being able to just, you know, be a part of that, seeing, you know, officers from Ukraine and Brazil and all these other areas, you know, was just really interesting. I'm also a trainer, so just all the materials and things they had, it was just very impressive. But I think Milan would have a better feedback on that since she attended multiple events. So I do have a list of things to go through. One of those things is identifying a police department person in PR. So there is a national night out, which I sent to everyone in the panel, but we didn't hear anything about that from the police side. I know they have someone who works in social media. So just making sure that we know who that person is and that she knows who we are. And then we can just establish those regular communications because we're hosting events and they're hosting events. So again, when they connect to the city's PR person. As Farah mentioned, we are talking about having these meetings in an alternate location. So if the meeting is on a Saturday or Sunday, having it in downtown Boulder may not be accessible for everyone. So in my experience, North County and East County has more diversity. And so we need venues in those areas. And so part of this is asking everyone on the panel to, you know, step up in what they're doing. And so if folks know of locations or providers, getting that information to Milan or myself, you know, would be appreciated. I'm also going to ask Milan to send out that poll again, so we can know everyone's personal contacts and really take advantage of those connections. Because one of the reasons we're not hitting our target audience is because they need to hear from a person face to face. We can't give someone a flyer and expect that's going to happen. If I can talk to someone in a conversation, those are the efforts that we need. So just being able to, you know, wash, rinse, and repeat that as these dates approach. So again, just needing help from other panel members to reach out. We can't say we need to reach the Latino population, but only leaning on Hadassah and Soledad, right? So we all know folks. So again, just making sure that, you know, we can pitch in. Again, those dates were September 13th and September 16th or 17th. So whether that would be virtual or in person, just throwing those dates out there again of September 13th and then September 16th or 17th, and open up to feedback on those changes. And again, if there's a faith-based option, you know, we talked about Second Baptist Church, you know, those options can also be considered for meetings. And that's all that I have. Any questions or comments?
For the community event, are we thinking like that last weekend of September? That's too late.
No, those are just, the thing is, it has to be coordinated with the committee that's doing the review work. So that's going to be the difficult part, because I'm not part of that committee. And so that group that's been meeting for 2 hours all the time,
Right.
like they have to, we want them to be able to attend one of those events.
So
Okay,
the last week of September is way too late because we're hoping to bring it to council. I feel like October 5th is the first council meeting, or the beginning of October. And so that would be, I mean, I even thought about the September 23rd, but even then there's a football game that day too, but that's late. But if we had to do the 23rd, so we could have a weekend option, because we talked about that just might be better for people than an evening in person during the week. That's another option.
Farah, if I could interject really quickly, it's right now scheduled on council calendars, first reading on September 21st, and second reading with public comment is scheduled for October 5th. And that would be usually adoption happens at second reading. So just for your timing to think about.
you said first reading for council September 21st.
Correct.
And so we want to have our community event before that, right?
I would think you would want to have your community event before that.
Yeah, pretty much just leaves. Not very many days.
So those dates seem possible after we check in with folks.
I mean, I'm available on those days, but
So just a little food for thought. If the September 21st is first reading, I believe the final memo has to be the 14th due to council. September 14th.
I
No,
think,
draft-
I mean, there's a little wiggle room, but I honestly think that we should aim as much as we can to mid-September. There's a little wiggle room there. I don't want people to think that like it's all the end all the be all, but I think if we can aim for mid-September, we can make it work.
Farah, when you say mid-September, do you mean like the week of the 11th? Or earlier than, I mean.
The dates that Victor gave, because we talked about the week that is the Labor Day week would probably not be a good week because people may still be out. So then that leaves the following week. So, again, 2 events, 1 weeknight virtual, and then 1 weekend in person. That leaves that following week.
What's the next step in getting that date identified?
It's kind of also based on availability of space too. We've been talking about, so working on where we could possibly have this. It sounds like if we're looking at different locations, so I think that's a factor as well. So we've been hoping to get more recommendations for potential locations, because that will be a factor.
Yeah, we're definitely missing our target audience. No students, no people of color, no people who speak English as not their first language. We're getting the folks who, have the time and privilege to come to some of these meetings. So again, that's why I mentioned those face-to-face conversations, just to get, just a handful of folks out. Because after this, we're going to start regular events, right? So after we've done with all this ordinance stuff, we're going to have a regular roadshow of public events and things that are happening, especially with the new monitor, right? So we're also thinking about planning for future events. So some of this stuff is just practice for getting back into the flow of things.
Okay, so coming back to, so acknowledging it's August 9th. And so we have less than a month to announce that the events, because the most important thing is we have to announce this, as we saw last time, we have to announce this event with time for it to percolate in the community. So it sounds like the obstacle right now is we need to find a venue, correct? So is that something where panelists, can send, Farah and Victor can send you recommendations for venues, and maybe we should say do that by Friday so that y'all can pick a date by next week? Does that make sense? I don't want to put something,
because the fallback is having it at the library or some other location, right? So
okay.
that would be
Okay, so in that case, then panelists, yes, do consider venues where we could hold an event. So Farah, Victor, we're talking like probably 20 to 30 folks, a venue that would fit that many people.
Question, I mean, and it might be crazy, tell me I'm crazy if it is. Could we look at a venue space? So the CU game on that day starts at 8 p.m. Could we look at a venue space on campus since a bunch of people are coming to campus? No.
No, yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's not crazy. What's crazy is how hard it is to get space on campus at especially this early in the semester, and especially on game day. So campus goes on lockdown for game day because tailgating starts at like noon, if not earlier. So not a crazy idea, but that is something, I think we should put a pin in that for a community event at some point. It can be a real pain to get a venue secured at CU, especially early in the semester, because yeah, anyway, all the things. So not a crazy idea, just an involved one, right? Okay, so yeah, so why don't we have a think on venues, capacity 20 to 30 people. Let's get those ideas to Victor and Farah by Friday, so that they can lock in a date and we can get promotion going out to the community. And picking up what Victor said, making sure we get that identified soon enough that we also have time to be using our volunteer hours to get out there and get the word out to our community.
One other idea. Have we ever looked at just the municipal building? Would that be a place that we could have an event? Because then it's already in the same building as where the monitor's office is, and
that downtown location that is making it inaccessible.
Got it. Okay.
Because there's trailer parks in North Boulder and East Boulder. And so if we had stuff closer to those locations and, where not everyone's comfortable being downtown and Pearl Street and all that, is kind of the idea.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And the last thing was, as we look forward to resuming work, when can ride-alongs resume? When can tours resume? If we can get some of these things done before we resume work, it'd be helpful to have these relationships built. So that was a question that the communications committee had.
As far as I know, for ride-alongs and tours, that doesn't necessarily come under the jurisdiction of our moratorium. I think all of us should feel free to reach out to the department, to request that if that's something you want to do.
As community members, people can always request ride-alongs, right?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Along with the ideas of we're going to be getting back to work, right? We're going to be resuming stuff full time. And so not everyone wants to do the ride-alongs, but at some point, some relationship building, so what the dispatch office looks like in some of these things as training resumes.
Yeah, and acknowledging too that, that request we've had, the panels made in the past for a less intense first engagement with the department than a ride-along, this concern that it's as an icebreaker on a very tense relationship, climbing into a car together for 3 to 6 hours with a gun is not comfortable for many members of the community. And so wanting to hopefully eventually find that opportunity for panelists and officers to mingle together, to talk to each other on that equal footing, as a way of, breaking through on this relationship too. So want to raise that up as something we've requested in the past. Other related to community engagement and communications, any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Look at you. Chico, any updates for Legacy Committee?
That's still on hold until we resume our regular business. For now, we ride along on, we piggyback off the community engagement team.
Beans. That next up on the agenda was conference update. So Victor had given an update on the police conference that happened in Boulder this week, and so Milan and Victor had attended that. I wanted to also give an update on the NACOL conference, and so in the past, so the last, yeah, I see you, Flo, and so last year we sent, it was Adasa and Martha actually went, so we assigned 2 panelists to go. This year, just the way the budget is rolling out, we will have we'll be able to send 1 person to the conference, as I sent in that email I sent you all earlier. And so Soledad had raised her hand as wanting to attend. And Amy, have we confirmed with Soledad that she'll attend, or do we want to?
She confirmed, and she was working with Gianna to make all the arrangements.
Boom. So just wanted to double check on that. And Flo, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I'm, as you know, been a board member of NACOL for 5 years. I also am serving as co-chair of the annual conference committee this year. And I will be conveying to the city administrators and the new monitor that I really think it's important for the new monitor to attend. And this first day of the conference, a Sunday, is an executive forum. It's just for agency heads, and that includes single person agencies. And there will be other monitors there. And I think that would be a perfect thing for her to attend.
Thanks, Flo. Cool. Any questions or comments on conferences?
Sorry, so we're saying that there is still seat for 1 panelist to go this year, or?
No, correct, Amy, because we shifted the budget for the Boulder conference, right? Okay.
That's correct.
So Soledad will be our representative this year, along with the monitor. And I should have said, yeah, Joey went to the conference. That's I should have mentioned that last year as well. So. Cool beans. So next up, I'll hand it back to you, Flo, for the monitor update.
Mike, do you want to say anything before I get into the actual statistics about as we near the end of our engagement? I defer to Mike, Mike Janaka, the leader of the OIR group.
Thank you, Flo. I have no prepared remarks other than to say that it's been a great experience to step in and try to keep all the traffic moving in the right direction. And it's been very educational and fulfilling for us. So we look forward to helping with the transition and bringing your new monitor on board as expeditiously as possible.
Can you share my screen? I echo Mike's comments. I don't know whether, well, there will be a lot of cases that I will have facilitated at the September meeting, but I'm sure Sherry, the new monitor, will be presenting the monitor's report, not me. But I will probably help her, by preparing some of the synopses. Anyway, it's really been an honor. If this is the last time I see you, it's been an honor working with all of you. And I really respect your commitment to the police oversight process and making the Boulder Police Department more transparent And just on a personal level, I've enjoyed getting, some of you I've met face to face, and I've met some of you just virtually, but I've really enjoyed working with you. And we have a few more case panels coming up, so that will be quite interesting. Anyway, let me share screen. Can I? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is the August 2023 interim independent monitors report. And this is really focused on July. The panel completed one case review in July. There are actually, right as of today, 4 cases that the panel has completed that are still pending police department disposition. There are 5 cases still awaiting panel review. 3 are scheduled and still are, 2 are still pending the completion of the department's investigation. I'm going to review the 2 cases that have been closed since we last met. And the first case is one that the panel met on, a case review panel reviewed and discussed just this month. That's MI 2023-008. And this case stemmed from an encounter between a man and a woman in Central Park, which ended up in both of them calling 911. The woman called first and said that a man had assaulted her with a knife, and the man reported that the woman attempted to assault him with a knife. Officer 2 was the lead officer who met with the woman. She had a cut on her thumb. She described the alleged assailant, and based on a description that officer put out, Officer 1 stopped an individual. That person turned out to be an acquaintance of the woman's. The woman told police that the individual was not the assailant, and Officer 1 released that individual. Officer 2 and several other officers interviewed both the man and the woman and watched some video the woman had recorded partially of the encounter. Collectively, they spoke to different witnesses and witness accounts, and that video showed that the woman had been the aggressor in the incident and had accidentally cut herself with her own knife, which the police recovered. I should say this is Officer 2, not Officer 1. Officer 2 arrested the woman and took her to the hospital where she got stitches. The woman filed a complaint afterwards and alleged that the police improperly conducted an investigative stop of her friend, failed to arrest the alleged assailant, and that Officer 2 didn't identify himself as required under the policy. And there were multiple allegations. Officer 1 was the officer who conducted the stop. And that question and/or detention was at issue. The panel recommended that that be exonerated. The department agreed, and that was a unanimous decision by the panel. For Officer 2, the lead officer, the first allegation was that he did not arrest the man. The panel felt that that was justified and exonerated the officer, and that was a unanimous decision with which the department agreed. And the second allegation against Officer 2 was that he didn't identify himself as required under policy. A panel by the 2-to-1 vote voted to exonerate, and the department agreed. The second case is a case that did not undergo panel review. It's a case that the monitor, I reviewed and observed interviews like I have done in every other case, and I have to deem the investigation complete and thorough prior to the department making a determination. This case stemmed from an encounter on May 17th, late at night. A woman called 911 to report that someone was trying to get into her house and wouldn't stop trying to get in and wouldn't leave, and asked the dispatcher to have the police please hurry. The dispatcher told the woman that she didn't have to ask the police to please hurry because the police were on their way. The woman's sister then got on the phone and provided a description of the suspect and other details. She reiterated that the occupants of the home were scared and asked how long it would take police to arrive. The dispatcher told the sister that the officers were in Boulder and will be there soon, but you live far, quote unquote. When the sister protested, the dispatcher said she would disconnect the call because the sister was yelling at her. The call was not disconnected. The police arrived about 10 minutes later. The would-be intruder was a college student who lived down the block who was so drunk and/or drugged, he didn't realize he was trying to get into the wrong house. This was a case involved a civilian employee of the department. The sister, the second person on the phone with the dispatcher, filed a complaint. And the allegations the monitor pleaded were that the dispatcher did not comply with the customer service value of the department and that violated dispatcher protocol for the second allegation. The monitor chose in this case not to make an independent recommendation, and the department found both allegations to be not sustained, but the chief directed the 911 manager to review the recording with the dispatcher to understand where the communication broke down and to better prepare for similar questions on future calls. And a supervisor, in fact, reviewed the call with the dispatcher in mid-July. Just for our statistics report in July, the monitor classified 4 misconduct allegations, observed 1 interview, deemed 4 police department investigations to be thorough and complete, and the department closed 1 case. As of the end of July, the open monitor panel docket stood at 20, including those cases that are waiting for the chief's final disposition. That completes my report.
Thanks, Flo. Now panelists, so I'll hand it back to y'all because of course this is our opportunity now in accordance with the current ordinance that we can offer any comment related to only to the details that Flo just released on any of the case reviews. This is our opportunity to make any comments about disposition or follow-up thoughts we had. So I'll just open the space for anyone who has anything to say about those cases. Oh yeah, Madeline. Oh, sorry, I saw you unmuted. Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I'm good.
In that case, I would just like to thank, if this is our last meeting, thank the entire OIR group for your work with us. I'll say for myself, I found it personally very rewarding. I learned so much from you. I am so grateful for the support and improvements you brought, the very many supports and improvements you brought in your brief time with us. So really I really appreciate you and count myself lucky to have gotten to work with you these past few months. Thanks.
Really appreciate that, Daniel. And the sentiments, I share them.
With that, then we will go to public comment. So give me just a second. So as a reminder, oops, sorry, lost my tab. Every member of the public will be allowed unmuted and will be asked if they'd like to comment this evening. If you do want to give comment this evening, we give members of the public 2 unimpeded minutes to do so. And if there's an interruption or a lost connection, we will stop the top clock to make sure you get your full 2 minutes. I will give a verbal notice of time at 20 seconds to the end. And I will ask the city or staff facilitator to mute the feed after 2 minutes. And panelists, you can offer short responses at the end of comment, and I will pause to check in case you do want to. And with that, I will share my screen. And it looks like we have just 1 member of the community today. So Amber, you should be able to unmute now. Would you like to give comment this evening? Amber, we cannot hear you. Give me a second. Amber, if you would like to give comment, you can send us a chat in case you're having technical issues, but I also believe this is Amber with the daily camera. Who usually does not give comment, but I want to make sure you have a chance. Nope. Okay. In that case, oh wait, see it in the QA. Thanks so much, Amber. Thank you for being here. It's always good to have you here. In that case, panelists, there are no more members of the community with us this evening. So just real quick, wanted to check in if there was any final business, questions, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams, desires, anyone wanted to bring up before we close this evening's meeting. Yeah, Amy.
Hi, I just wanted to bring up that I sent you all an email today. One of our colleagues on the team has been nominated as the 2023 Woman Who Lights Up the Community, Madeline. Yay. So I did reserve a table if anyone wants to attend. If you could let me know by the end of the week, that would be great. That way we can make sure that we reserve you a spot.
Oh, thank you, Amy. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for lighting up our community, Madeline. We're so glad to have you.
Oh, yeah, and I apologize
I
for
think she,
being late getting here. I had my days wrong, so Amy, you're just as sweet as you can be. I appreciate you.
No worries, it happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I thought we were still in July, so I can't complain.
I certainly tell you that I'll say this, it would do my heart good to look out and see and have you guys there, see your faces. So I hope you can arrange to be there. Be very special. Super.
Analysts, anything else?
If anybody wants to do a ride along or just do a tour of the building, and do it with me, just feel free to reach out, give me an email or shoot me an email, I should say. I can take you around in my detective vehicle, so it's not in a real police car, and we can still just drive around and look at how officers do their job on different calls. So I can try to make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Sterling. And for those of you who don't know, Sterling's contact info is in our contact sheet in SharePoint, as are all of our contacts. So yeah, thank you so much, Sterling. Cool beans. In that case, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for, there's so much work happening behind the scenes, and I just want to acknowledge that and appreciate that. And we will see y'all soon. Have a good evening.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.